Okay, carbohydrates. Let's talk definitely about them once for all. Hello my friends and welcome back to Live Healthy, Look Good. We have been talking about going on a diet and the repercussions of a diet. I'm going to go through the most common diets very soon. If you want, you can already see something on my Facebook page or on my Twitter account. I've already started to upload images with benefits and drawbacks of the most common and known diets. And you know, I've been talking about carbohydrates for a while, and in my website there are articles about what they are, how they work, what they do in terms of hormones, and a lot of information that I'm not going to repeat in this video. So this video will explain once for all about carbohydrates. So I have said in previous videos that carbohydrates or sugars are the only fuel for the brain, which is true, but I didn't mention exactly what sugars are. Carbohydrates equal sugars. Now, what carbohydrates are? Carbohydrates are not just bread, pasta, flour, or whatever else it's not coming in my mind in this moment, which is associated to carbohydrates. Yes, they are all carbohydrates, but carbohydrates are also fruit, vegetables, the things that we can collect from the soil and eat. Those are all mainly carbohydrates. And carbohydrates are almost entirely sugars, with the exception of fibers. There are two types of fibers which I have spoken about in an article, which I'm not going to make a video for, so I invite you to check on my website the fibers, what they are and what they do. But these two types of fibers, they have two different functions. One is to make us feel fuller for a longer time, and they are the soluble fibers, for instance the ones that we can find in oat. And another type of fiber is the non-soluble fiber, and these have the function of sticking into our intestine and allowing us to get rid of all the food that we have processed and we don't take anything else from, basically going to the toilet. But everything else that we eat in pasta, pizza, biscuits, or fruits or vegetables, everything that is made with flour, anything that is a fruit or a green thing that you can eat, like a pepper, like a potato, like every of these natural things that come from the soil, are all carbohydrates. Hence, once we remove the fiber, sugars. Now, carbohydrates can be complex or simple. The only difference is the link of molecules that create these carbohydrates. So we can have glucose, which is a simple molecule, which is actually the one molecule that we create from every complex carbohydrate that we take. So our body, when we metabolize food, we basically decompose and recompose these connections of molecules and convert them in things that we didn't take originally. Okay? For instance, if we take glucose, then we convert it into glycogens to store it into our muscles, which is something I've explained in one of my articles on my website. But then, if we need energy, we take these glycogens from our muscle and the liver and reconvert it into glucose. So we just remove the other molecules that are not part of a glucose molecule and we convert it into glucose, because glucose is the only way we can use energy from sugars. So there is also something about glycemic index on my website. I'm going to shortly do an article about the glycemic load. These are two important things in terms of hormones because they relate to the amount of insulin that we produce. Our pancreas produces insulin in order to convert glucose into glycogens, so to store it into our muscles. And I'm gonna let you read about it. So far, I have no plans to make videos. Probably I will, because there's something more that I want to add on top of it, but I don't want to make a 1-minute video say, hey, I forgot to say this in my article. So maybe I'm just going to add some description in the article. Not yet sure. I'm collecting information and see how long I can make a video, if it's worth it or if it's not. And in that way, in that case, I will maybe add something to the existing article. But what I want to talk to you about today is that not all these sugars that we take are the same. Yes, eventually they will be all converted into glucose or glycogens or fat, because as I explain in my article, we store just a certain, as much as glycogens in our muscles, and then everything in excess is stored as fat, because our body doesn't know that we don't starve anymore. Because evolution, I think I mentioned something either on my videos or in my article, sorry, I can't remember things, I'm becoming old. Evolution takes thousands, if not millions of years to happen, and we have just recently discovered agriculture, farming of animals. So our body is not adapted to the lifestyle that we have nowadays, which is very sedentary and rich in sugars, rich in carbohydrates. So in this video, I want you to understand how to find out when a carbohydrate is good and when a carbohydrate is not good. Because unfortunately, sugar is bad. And I think I mentioned this as well in another video. Everything that we eat or drink comes with something that we can find so beneficial, but along with that, there's always something that we find so detrimental. So if we do tests on every single food that we eat or drink, we will find the benefits of that and also the drawbacks of it. But there are things that only have drawbacks, and in the example of carbohydrates, the drawbacks come with the processed food, because we refine them and we remove the fiber, for instance, which are really very important, or minerals, vitamins. Please let me just know, I got this doubt now, I think it's vitamins. So, if we eat a spoon of table sugar, it's not like we are eating an apple or eating a banana, which may or may not have the same amount of sugar. I don't know. We should do some tests, or at least to see the labels and see the macronutrients and the micronutrients, but that's not the point. Let's pretend they have the same amount of sugar. Okay, so a teaspoon contains, for example, it's not true, I'm just making it up, the same amount of sugars that is in a banana. If we just eat the spoon of sugar, we just eat sugar. And sugar is bad for people's bones and is also associated to a lot of other issues related to hormones like insulin and diabetes, and not only, also cardiovascular and heart diseases, and also probably some cancers. But if we eat a banana, yes, we take the same amount of sugar, but the banana has fiber, which magically will reduce the amount of time, well, actually will increase, sorry, the amount of time that we take to metabolize it, which also happens to reduce the amount of insulin needed to metabolize it. Okay, the longer we take to digest something, the less amount of insulin is needed to bring all this glucose, to convert it into glycogen and store it into our muscles and our liver, or to convert it into fat in a person with no insulin issues, with no hormonal issues. So we said there are fibers which have this purpose, at least in a banana, because it comes with mainly non-soluble fibers, and I'm going to cover it in a second. And also it comes with all the micronutrients, vitamins and minerals, like banana is rich in potassium, but not only potassium, I'm just saying the one that is very known. So yes, it comes with some issues which it itself has the way to protect you from, like the fiber. And yes, okay, you have taken some sugars from a banana, but you also have taken potassium and other vitamins and minerals. While if you just eat a tablespoon of sugar, a teaspoon of table sugar, you just get the sugars with no benefits. Okay? And sugar is the one thing that you want to be very careful of in your diet. And unfortunately, it happens to be everywhere. Because if you have watched Super Size Me, you will know that food creates addiction. And it's very easy because we live, let's face it, we live pretty shitty lives sometimes. You know, we have a job that we don't like, we don't have enough time for the things that we would like to do. And we have a lot of stress coming from bills and things that you have to pay and you didn't even know you had to, or things that you have to keep checking, like things that expire, things that you need to renew. So we are not certainly living a relaxed life. And it's very easy for us to find relief in food. And this is very well known by the food industry. So when we blame the government to just create confusion in nutrition, actually, or we are concerned about the pesticides or things that are in the peel of fruits or all these venomous things, we should focus on the fact that there is no education in nutrition, and everything else, like the things that we are more concerned about because media speak about us so loudly, are not really as dangerous as what we are already doing to ourselves by not being educated in what is good and what is bad for us. Now, I'm going to tell you what is bad and what is good. Obviously, then it's up to you deciding whether you want to get rid of that medicine that you're taking just because you don't want to get rid of, by doing some exercising and by getting rid of something that you shouldn't eat and you know already that you shouldn't. Also, you shouldn't be concerned, because that's another thing that I've noticed very often. We are often concerned, and I was like that, when we go to a party, oh no, I'm not going to take this slice of cake because I'm on a diet and I don't want to take these sugars. But then when we're home, we eat everything. So if we were able to change our habits by getting rid of every processed food, which I'm going to tell you in a second what I refer to, and start eating more unprocessed food, so taking our carbohydrates from wholemeal flours, the brown ones, 100%, and all these whole grain, wholemeal cereals, rather than using white flours, rather than using table sugars, rather than eating cakes, we will really make the one change that we really have to do. I can tell you, my dessert, my treats are pears and bananas. Yes, I eat honey as well, which is natural. Honey is not a industrially processed sugar. It is indeed a processed sugar if we check, because bees make it, bees process it, but it's naturally processed. So what we need to get rid of is all the white flours. You need to get rid of these cereals that you buy in supermarket for breakfast. You know, those those cereals that, I don't want to say the brand, but they're very famous. You put them in a bowl, you pour the milk on, they become soft and you eat them. They are full of both salt and sugars, which is horrible. So you may want to eat the oat. Oat is my favorite cereal, the one that you just mix with water. Then you can put some chocolate in it, you can put some honey in it, you can even put milk in it if you want. But you need to be aware of these things. Sugars are worse than fat. So when you buy something that is light or fat-free, usually it comes with more sugars because fat has this peculiarity to granting flavor to things. So we like fat because it's tasty. We haven't spoken about fat yet, but we will. And when the industry gets rid of fat, in order to make it healthier, they add sugars, which is so more detrimental. So I would advise, obviously you need to speak with your doctor before doing any of the things that I'm saying. I would advise, that's what I do though, I would advise to avoid buying the light products with not many fats, and buying the products that are not processed, so the products with not as much sugar. Sugar, you shouldn't expect to have sugars, for instance, in meat, in fish, because also yogurt shouldn't have so much sugar. So if you buy yogurt, you should really eat the natural one, the one which has that acid flavor. That's the one that you want to eat. Then you can put some honey in it, you can put some fruit in it to make it sweet. You don't have to buy the one that comes with the flavor of something, because that one more likely comes with added sugars, which are made with no vitamins, minerals and anything else, because they are processed. So they just refined, they removed everything and they just kept the glucose. And there are no fibers either. So that's the thing that you have to do. And that's the one change. So if you love yourself, and even if you're lazy, you don't want to do exercise, I've been talking about if you want to look good, you don't only need to do the diet, but you have to do some training, because otherwise muscle won't grow. But if you really want to do something very good to yourself, start today getting rid of processed food. You don't need to really spend so much time in the kitchen cooking for yourself. You can do something with oat, which is very quick for your breakfast. You can eat eggs. Eggs don't come with sugars. Obviously, eggs, ask your doctor how many you can eat. And also, when you eat all these carbohydrates, which now you know what they are, the one thing that you want to do is just combine them with other things like fat, like proteins, because that will slow down its digestion, hence reduce the amount of insulin that you produce. So you don't really need to go crazy about the glycemic index or glycemic load. You should if you have diabetes. It's not definitely harming you if you do it. It takes time, and it's not very clear because there are different sources with different numbers. So it's not the easier thing to do. But if you train and if you don't have any diabetes or insulin issues, you shouldn't really be concerned about glycemic index and glycemic load, as long as you combine carbohydrates with other things in your diet. And these carbohydrates come from vegetables and fruit. So, for instance, my breakfast today was 200 grams of white yogurt. I ate 2 eggs, and I ate some oat with a piece of dark chocolate and a banana in it. So I mixed it very well. Banana, chocolate, oat, my 2 eggs, and my 200 grams of yogurt. So my carbohydrates came from the oat and from the banana, mainly. Yes, the dark chocolate has some unprocessed, some refined sugar. It's a 90% pure, so there is 0.7 grams or 0.7% of refined sugars. But that's it. That's not too much. And that helped to slow down my metabolism of this breakfast. Hence, my insulin wasn't really as great as it would be if I only ate, for instance, the oat, which seems to me not to be really a high glycemic index food. But just so you know, glycemic index and glycemic load, they change according to what else you eat with the food that you're eating. So it's really difficult to track, and you don't need to. That was the shrinked version of what I was saying about my breakfast. So that's what you need to do. Eat healthy carbohydrates, vegetables, fruit, raw, that's fine. If you don't want to have them raw, you can steam them, you can boil them, you can even fry them. They are still better than the tablespoon of sugar. And that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to say about carbohydrates, hopefully. Please, if you enjoyed this video, just click the thumb up icon down there. If you haven't done yet, please just subscribe here, and if you want to receive a notification for every video that I upload on this channel, just please click the ring bell icon, which will notify you for every single content I produce. Also, if you have any questions, just write them in the comments down there. I will be happy to help you. That's why I made this channel, because I want to help people. I'm going to also start producing videos on how to do some training. And yes, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video, and don't forget to live healthy so that you can look good. Bye!